Okay, so for this test question, you're trying to figure out if it's a translation, a rotation, or a reflection. And for me, it's a lot easier to see if I actually cut them out and I imagine moving them. So remember, a translation is where you just shift something up, down, left, or right. You're just shifting it. So, like if we take this first example here, there's no way that we can move this first piece up, down, left, or right to make it end up as that second piece. So that one is not a translation. Now a rotation is where you're turning it. So if we take this first piece and we think about turning it, we're asking ourselves, is it ever going to line up or end up the same? And if you look here, if we turned it, I can even put it on top of it if you want it to see, but it lines up perfectly. The R is on top, the Q is on the left side, and the P is on the bottom. So this one, let me go back to the original. This one is a turn or a rotation. Now the reason it can't be a reflection is when you flip something across a line. And so if you think about flipping this piece, I know it's upside down, but I hope that you can see the Q's would line up, but on top you would have a P instead of an R, and on the bottom you'd have an R instead of a P. So the only thing that works here is if you rotate it or turn it. That's the only way you can make that one work. So that one is a rotation. Let's check out this one. All right, so this one, notice that the Q went from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. So I have a pretty good feeling that this is going to be a reflection. I have a pretty good feeling I'm going to flip it. And I know when I flip it, you can't really see what's happening to the letters, but the Q would end up there, the P would end up there, and the R would end up there. So this one is a reflection. If you fold it or flip it, they line up perfectly. All right, let's check out this one. So P is on top. Oh, I have them in the wrong order. P and P prime are on top, Q and Q prime are on the right-hand side, and R prime are on the bottom. So basically, this hasn't been turned or reflected. All it's done, it's either moved up, down, left, right. This is a translation. The orientation is still the same, so that's a translation. And then this last one. All right. My P went from the top over here to the right. The R went from the bottom to the top left, and the Q went from the side to the bottom. So think about our options. A translation is just moving it down, up, left, or right. There's no way that we could shift it to where it would line up with that. A reflection is where we flip it. And if you think about flipping it, I know you can't see the triangle on the other side. Well, let me draw the triangle. Sure, why not? If you flip it, then you have Q, what was on the top? P and R. So by doing a reflection, you go from this to that, and that still doesn't line up with what we want. So the only option here is a rotation, where we turn it. And if you see, as we turn it, right here, it does match up. If you look over here, the P is on the top, the R is on the top, and the Q is on the bottom. So this is a rotation. We would turn this in order to make it happen. Hope that helps.